In the far reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy, the Zolthar Imperium was a force known for its relentless expansion. Its scouts traversed the cosmos, searching for new worlds to bring under the Imperium's dominion. When they stumbled upon a series of transmissions emanating from a small blue planet in an uncharted solar system, they were intrigued. These signals, filled with rich melodies and complex languages, painted a picture of a diverse but technologically nascent civilization. To the Zolthar, whose might was unquestioned and whose battles were waged and won with cold efficiency, the planet known as Earth appeared ripe for the taking. They perceived the outpouring of communications not as a sign of strength but of naivety, a world broadcasting its existence without fear of who might be listening. With their sights set on this unsuspecting target, the Zolthar dispatched a fleet to Earth, anticipating an easy conquest. The Zolthar commanders envisioned a swift campaign, with this human race folding quickly under their superior firepower and battle-hardened troops. As the alien fleet neared Earth, their approach did not go unnoticed. Humanity, having long gazed at the stars, wondering if they were alone in the universe, found their answer in the most direct way possible. But far from the excitement of a potential peaceful first encounter, the global powers recognized the threat. Mobilizing quickly, they activated their defenses, preparing to defend their home against the impending invasion. In those tense hours, as the Zolthar fleet entered Earth's orbit and initiated their first strike, they expected panic and chaos. They expected a scattered and disorganized response. What they encountered was a united species ready to defend their home. Earth's forces responded with precision and determination. Their actions not those of a prey caught off guard, but of a sentient race fiercely protective of their world. The initial clash was intense, the skies alight with the exchange of firepower. The Zolthar, for the first time in their history, found themselves challenged by an opponent whose will was as strong as their own. Earth's defenders, leveraging their knowledge of their home terrain and bolstered by the resolve to protect it, mounted a resistance that would mark the beginning of an epic struggle for survival. In the command centers and war rooms across Earth, leaders and strategists worked tirelessly to coordinate their efforts. From the most advanced nations to the smallest communities, the people of Earth stood in solidarity, ready to face the alien threat head-on. This first contact would set the stage for a confrontation that would define the future of humanity, and perhaps the galaxy itself. The Zolthar fleet, poised above Earth, launched their assault with confidence. The Imperium's strategy was simple and brutal, a relentless barrage from orbit designed to cripple Earth's major cities and military bases. Yet, the Zolthar commanders had severely underestimated the strategic capabilities of humanity. As the first wave of the attack began, the humans responded in kind. The Earth's militaries, having evolved through the crucible of their own internecine wars, had developed sophisticated defense systems. Missiles arced upwards, intercepting alien projectiles before they could reach their targets. The skies were illuminated by the silent, bright blooms of high-altitude explosions. On the ground, the chaos that the Zolthar had expected did not materialize. Instead, they witnessed organized evacuations and well-executed emergency protocols. The humans, it seemed, were well versed in the art of survival. Across continents, from the sprawling metropolises to rural outposts, people found shelter, and the military prepared to counterattack. Meanwhile, the Zolthar's ground forces encountered a maze of resistance. Every city was a stronghold, every street a potential ambush. Humanity fought not for conquest or glory, but for their very existence. They fought with a ferocity that startled their would-be conquerors. Special operations teams from different nations conducted coordinated strikes on the Zolthar's ground troops, displaying a unity that transcended former rivalries. They leveraged their intimate knowledge of the terrain, utilizing underground tunnels, high-rise vantage points, and the dense cover of forests for guerrilla attacks that left the Zolthar reeling. In the world's oceans, submerged human vessels targeted the Zolthar's aquatic carriers. Exploiting their stealth, they launched torpedoes that sent alien ships crashing into the depths. In the air, Squadrons of fighter jets harried the Zolthar dropships, using the clouds as cover and the sun as a blinding ally. What the Zolthar had envisioned as a swift subjugation was quickly becoming a quagmire. With each failed assault, the invaders grew more incredulous. How could this fragmented species, with their primitive propulsion and lack of unified government, mount such a defense? In the command ship hovering above, the Zolthar leaders watched as their forces were pushed back. For the first time, uncertainty crept into their minds. Earth was not the defenseless prize they had believed it to be. Instead, it was home to a species that could, and would, defend itself against all odds. As the first day of invasion turned to night, the Zolthar observed the lights of Earth's cities still burning, defiant in the darkness. They realized that this planet was not just another stepping stone in their imperial march. It was a bastion of determined life, and the humans were its stalwart guardians. Underestimating the human race had been the Zolthar's first mistake. Their second was assuming Earth's technological inferiority. As the Zolthar pressed their attack, they expected to encounter fragmented resistance. Instead, they faced a global network of defense that sprang to life with startling vitality. Governments that had been rivals shared intelligence in real time, creating a unified front. Across the planet, from the silos of the American Midwest to the hidden bases in the Ural Mountains, defensive missiles launched in a spectacular display of unity. In tech hubs like Silicon Valley and Bangalore, cyber defense units worked to shield and counteract the Zolthar's attempts at electronic warfare. Space agencies across Earth, which had long prepared for the possibility of extraterrestrial threats, coordinated a response to the orbital assault. Civilian satellites were repurposed on the fly, transforming commercial hardware into a makeshift surveillance and communication network. Military satellites equipped with defensive systems engaged the Zolthar ships, protecting the planet from above. The Zolthar found their communications jammed, their maneuvers tracked, and their tactics anticipated. Humanity's response was not the panicked flailing of a prey animal, but the concerted strike of a predator awakened. The very technology the aliens had detected and dismissed as primitive was turned against them with devastating ingenuity. On the ground, a global militia was forming. Civilians who had trained for this very scenario under Earth's various gun ownership laws joined the ranks of the professional soldiers. Armed with both weapons and a fierce determination to protect their homes, these volunteer fighters bolstered Earth's defenses, turning every city into a fortress and every village into a trap. The world's navies, patrolling the international waters, launched a counteroffensive against the Zolthar's aquatic assault units. Submarines and destroyers, employing advanced sonar and torpedo systems, hunted down the invaders beneath the waves. The Zolthar had anticipated encountering a single species. What they met was a complex, interconnected hive of activity. Earth's response was like that of a disturbed anthill or beehive, each member working in concert with the whole to repel the aggressors. As the first week of the invasion came to a close, the Zolthar's early gains had been all but erased. Their initial landing zones had become battlegrounds, each inch of Earth contested fiercely. Humanity had not only survived the first contact, but they had also adapted to the presence of an alien aggressor with a speed and efficiency that was, in itself, a form of warfare. In orbit, the remnants of the Zolthar fleet regrouped, their leaders in disbelief at the resilience of these humans. The invasion force had been blunted, and now they had to contend with a planet that was not only alive, but fully awakened and enraged. The Zolthar's confidence began to wane as they braced for the next phase of a war they were no longer certain of winning. The skies of Earth had become a battleground of epic proportions. The Zolthar, with their advanced interstellar fighters, had expected to dominate the airspace easily, but they were quickly learning the tenacity of human pilots. Every country contributed their best aviators, the skies above becoming a chaotic dance of jets and alien craft engaged in dogfights. The humans had been preparing for potential aerial threats, not from beyond the stars, but from each other. This preparation paid off in unexpected ways. Fighter jets, retrofitted with the latest in anti-aircraft weaponry, darted among the alien ships. They used the clouds as camouflage, the sun's glare as a weapon, and the terrain below to outmaneuver the more powerful but less agile Zolthar ships. Meanwhile, on the ground, anti-air batteries targeted the larger, more cumbersome alien carriers. The humans knew they couldn't match the Zolthar ship for ship, so they focused on taking out the carriers that housed the swarms of enemy fighters. For every human jet that fell, a dozen Zolthar ships were taken down. The battle was not without loss. Many brave pilots sacrificed themselves to protect their homes, their comrades, and their planet. Civilians turned their eyes to the sky, witnessing the fiery trails of friend and foe alike, each streak a testament to the fierce defense of their world. The Zolthar, in their hubris, had not anticipated the strategic cunning of human air forces. The human pilots employed hit-and-run tactics, using the knowledge of their home advantage to its full extent. In every country, the story was the same. Brave men and women taking to the skies in defense of their planet. As the days passed, the Zolthar realized that controlling Earth's skies would not be the effortless task they had imagined. Human ingenuity turned every engagement into a lethal puzzle, with hidden surface-to-air missiles, unexpected counterattacks, and a relentless determination that matched the Zolthar's own. In the orbital command centers of the Zolthar fleet, there was growing concern. The longer the battle for the skies raged, the more resources they drained, and the more time Earth's military had to prepare and execute their ground strategies. What had begun as an invasion was quickly becoming a siege, with the Zolthar's position growing more tenuous with each passing hour. The battle for the skies would be remembered as a defining moment in human history, a time when, against all odds, Earth's defenders took flight to claim their place among the stars as a species not to be trifled with. With the skies contested fiercely by human pilots, the Zolthar shifted their focus to a ground invasion, deploying troops across Earth's varied landscapes. But humanity was ready, their forces adapting to the alien threat with shrewd resourcefulness. From the jungles of South America to the urban sprawls of Asia, small squads of human soldiers engaged in guerrilla warfare. They used their intimate knowledge of the terrain to conduct hit-and-run attacks, striking at the Zolthar forces and vanishing before retaliation could be organized. The humans turned their own cities and forests into mazes and traps, using skyscrapers, subways, and natural cliffs as fortresses and ambush points. Civilian hackers and engineers, rallying to the cause, repurposed commercial drones to serve as scouts and, in some cases, makeshift bombers, creating a swarm of eyes in the sky that relayed the movements of the Zolthar forces back to the human resistance. In the rural countryside, farmers and citizens used their tools and local knowledge to sabotage the alien supply lines. Roads and bridges vital to the Zolthar logistics were destroyed, while underground cells organized raids on their encampments, proving that every human had a role to play in the defense of their planet. The Zolthar, though technologically superior, found themselves fighting an enemy that was everywhere and nowhere, an enemy that knew when to hide, when to fight, and when to flee. The aliens had expected to face armies in open battlefields, but instead faced a scattered, omnipresent threat that nibbled at their forces and eroded their morale. The turning point came when a team of special operatives infiltrated a Zolthar command center. After a silent, deadly incursion, they emerged with data that provided insight into the alien communication network. This intelligence was disseminated across the globe, enabling coordinated attacks that struck with surgical precision. The Zolthar, who prided themselves on their military discipline and strategic planning, found their strategies unraveled by the unpredictable nature of human warfare. They were unable to secure any territory conclusively, as every victory was followed by a series of vexing guerrilla strikes that made their progress all but impossible. As the war of attrition wore on, the Zolthar forces began to feel the sting of Earth's defiance. What was once an invasion was rapidly devolving into a quagmire, with the alien invaders struggling to maintain their foothold on a planet that refused to be conquered. Humanity's spirit of resistance, fueled by a deep connection to their home and an unyielding will to survive, proved to be as formidable a weapon as any firearm or bomb. Humanity's unified defiance began to manifest in more significant victories. The Zolthar, struggling to maintain their grip on Earth's surface, faced a new challenge. Human forces had identified the colossal flagship of the Zolthar fleet, the symbol of their supposed invincibility, and were determined to bring it down. A diverse group of the world's finest soldiers was assembled for the mission, codenamed Titanfall. These soldiers, equipped with the most advanced gear Earth could provide, including exosuits and cloaking devices reverse-engineered from captured Zolthar tech, prepared to strike at the heart of the alien armada. The plan was audacious. A covert ops team would approach the flagship using a commandeered Zolthar dropship. The infiltration required precision, flying through the debris and chaos of the ongoing space battle. Meanwhile, on Earth, a feint attack was launched, drawing the flagship's attention away from the incoming threat. As the team breached the flagship's hull, intense close-quarters combat ensued. The corridors of the alien vessel became a labyrinthine war zone, with human soldiers pitted against the Zolthar's elite guards. Every step forward was hard-fought, with the gravity of their mission pushing the human team to their limits. In the ship's core, the team set explosive charges, targeting the flagship's critical systems. The battle inside the ship was mirrored by the chaos outside, as the remaining human fleet engaged the Zolthar, capitalizing on the distraction the infiltration team provided. The charges were detonated, and the resulting explosion tore through the flagship. The symbol of Zolthar might was broken, its wreckage tumbling towards Earth's atmosphere. This victory was broadcasted across all communication channels, boosting the morale of Earth's defenders and striking fear into the hearts of the Zolthar forces. The destruction of the flagship was more than a military victory. It was a psychological blow to the Zolthar. The once confident invaders now witnessed the determination and capability of humanity, who had not only survived the onslaught, but had taken the fight to their enemy with unyielding ferocity. The fall of the Zolthar's greatest warship marked a turning point in the invasion. The humans had shown that no matter the size or strength of their enemy, they could and would find a way to triumph. As the burning remnants of the flagship lit up the sky, humanity's message was clear. Earth would not be subdued, and the human spirit could topple even the mightiest of foes. The tide of war was turning. As the debris of the Zolthar flagship rained down upon the Earth, a new development was unfolding in the shadows of the conflict. The Galactic Council, an assembly of various alien races who had long observed Earth from a cautious distance, was now stepping out of the sidelines. The Council had been impressed by humanity's valor and resilience. They saw in humans a potential ally and a balancing force in the cosmic arena. In a clandestine move, representatives from the Council made contact with Earth's leaders, offering their support to repel the Zolthar invasion. This secret alliance brought with it new advantages. The Galactic Council shared advanced technology that accelerated humanity's understanding of the Zolthar's weaknesses. Covert shipments of energy shielding, plasma weaponry, and tactical cloaking devices began to bolster the human arsenal. The partnership also provided Earth with vital intelligence about the Zolthar's strategies, fleet movements, and even politics. It turned out the Zolthar's unity was not as solid as it seemed. There were factions within their empire that objected to the war. This information opened up new possibilities for Earth's strategists, who began to exploit these cracks in the enemy's facade. Human Special Forces units, armed with the new technology, launched targeted strikes that were even more effective than before. They disabled key Zolthar outposts and captured high-value targets, using the intel provided by the Council to maximum effect. The Galactic Council's aid remained a well-kept secret, known only to a select few on Earth. The general populace continued to fight, unaware of the silent backers who had taken a vested interest in their struggle. The alliance remained covert, with the Council wary of revealing their interference in what the Zolthar considered a domestic affair. For the Zolthar, the sudden shift in human capabilities was baffling and terrifying. Their invasion had been predicated on the belief that Earth was technologically primitive, but now they faced resistance that was every bit as sophisticated as their own. The shockwaves of the destroyed flagship were nothing compared to the ripple of fear that spread through the Zolthar ranks as humans began to turn the tide with alarming speed. The Galactic Council's involvement was a testament to the human race's ability to inspire unity against a common adversary. While the Zolthar had hoped to add Earth to their empire quickly, they found themselves battling not just a planet, but a symbol of defiance that the wider galaxy had begun to rally behind. The turning point of the war, now known as the Pivotal Shift, began to unfold across Earth. Armed with groundbreaking technologies from the Galactic Council, humanity launched a counteroffensive that would take the war from the defensive streets of their cities to the front lines of the Zolthar territories. On land, sea, and air, human forces combined traditional tactics with their new arsenal. Stealth teams disabled alien anti-aircraft systems, allowing human jets and drones clear skies for bombing runs. Naval fleets, protected by energy shields, reclaimed control of the seas, severing Zolthar supply lines. In space, the remnants of the human orbital fleet, now equipped with plasma weapons, engaged the Zolthar with renewed vigor. Each encounter saw Zolthar ships outmaneuvered and outgunned, a reversal of the conflict's early days. The humans' new cloak technology allowed them to execute surprise attacks that the aliens could neither predict nor counter. The Zolthar, caught in a war they could no longer control, began to fracture. Reports of dissent and disobedience filtered through the ranks, with some units withdrawing from Earth to protect their holdings elsewhere in the galaxy. The once mighty Imperium was showing signs of internal conflict, its focus shifting from conquest to survival. Back on Earth, cities that had been under siege started to see reprieve. Citizens emerged from shelters to find a world still scarred by war, but with a glimmer of hope. Human soldiers, once considered the underdog, were now seen as liberators in their own land. The counteroffensive reached a climax with a coordinated strike on the Zolthar's forward operating bases on Earth's moon. Human forces, in a daring raid, managed to capture these bases, securing a strategic vantage point and disrupting the Zolthar's orbital offensive capabilities. As news of the success spread, it bolstered the morale of Earth's forces. The humans were no longer merely surviving, they were gaining ground, pushing back the alien threat with every passing day. Earth's cities started to pulsate with life once again, as reconstruction efforts began amidst the ongoing conflict. The Stellar Concord, now openly allying with Earth, sent emissaries to facilitate communication and coordinate efforts against the Zolthar. Earth became a focal point for resistance against the Imperium, a rallying cry for freedom echoing across the stars. The tipping point of the conflict was clear. Humanity would not be subjugated. They had adapted, evolved, and emerged stronger than ever. Now it was the Zolthar who were on the defensive, their regret for attacking Earth growing with each retreat, each loss, and each human victory. The war was far from over, but the balance had shifted, and Earth's defenders were now the harbingers of the Zolthar's demise. With the Zolthar forces in disarray, humanity began its final push to liberate Earth and ensure no such threat could ever loom over them again. This phase of the conflict, known as Operation Retribution, was a series of calculated strikes aimed not only at driving the Zolthar from Earth, but also at crippling their capacity to wage war. The human military, now a formidable force augmented by alien technologies and galactic allies, initiated a global offensive. The deserts, forests, and urban ruins that had been battlegrounds became launching pads for humanity's assault. Each squadron, each platoon, had stories of loss and resilience, fueling their determination to end the conflict on their terms. In space, the debris field that orbited Earth, a graveyard of ships from both sides, bore witness to the final battles. Human pilots, now adept in the use of advanced propulsion systems, danced through the wreckage, targeting Zolthar vessels attempting to flee or regroup. The moon bases fully under human control served as staging grounds for these operations, striking fear into the hearts of the Zolthar who had once viewed Earth's satellite as their domain. On Earth, special forces teams equipped with cloaking devices and energy weapons dismantled the remaining Zolthar strongholds. These elite units, composed of soldiers from every corner of the globe, demonstrated the unity and strength that had emerged from the war's crucible. The Zolthar, isolated and overwhelmed, found no quarter on the planet they had sought to conquer. The Galactic Council, observing the tide turn decisively in humanity's favor, began to broker peace talks within the Zolthar Imperium. Factions within the Imperium, recognizing the futility of continuing the conflict, pushed for withdrawal and negotiations. The Earth, once on the brink of subjugation, was now the anvil against which the resolve of the Zolthar was shattered. The climax of Operation Retribution was the liberation of Earth's major cities. In a symbolic gesture of defiance and strength, the world's capitals lit up the night sky, not with the fires of war, but with beacons of celebration. Humanity had not only defended their home, but had also sent a message to the cosmos. They were a species capable of incredible feats when united against a common foe. As the last of the Zolthar forces were expelled from Earth, the planet took its first breaths of peace. The cost had been high, the scars deep, but the spirit of the people was unbroken. Memorials were erected honoring the heroes of the war, both known and unknown, reminding future generations of the price paid for their freedom. The war with the Zolthar had ended, but it was clear that a new chapter for humanity was just beginning. Earth's nations, once divided by petty disputes, found a new sense of camaraderie. The Galactic Council welcomed Earth as a member, recognizing its people's courage and resilience. Humanity, having defended their home against an interstellar threat, was ready to take its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as advocates for peace and cooperation in the galaxy. In the aftermath of the war, Earth underwent a transformation. The planet, scarred by the conflict, bore witness to humanity's resilience. Cities were rebuilt, not just as they were, but better, incorporating both human and alien technologies that had been shared in the spirit of newfound alliances. The ruins of the past became the foundations for a future that humanity had fought so fiercely to secure. Globally, the war had erased old borders and disputes, knitting the world together in a shared narrative of survival and triumph. The United Nations was reformed, now inclusive of representatives from Earth's off-world allies, becoming a true planetary council. This body was charged with guiding humanity's steps into the wider galaxy, ensuring that the lessons learned from the war would not be forgotten. The establishment of the Earth Defense Force, EDF, marked a significant milestone. Composed of volunteers from every nation, the EDF was a testament to Earth's commitment to protect itself from future threats and to offer aid to allies across the stars. Training programs were developed, combining human military techniques with strategies and weapons from the Galactic Council, preparing for a future where Earth could stand as a protectorate for peace. The Zolthar's defeat had opened new diplomatic channels in the galaxy. Earth became a hub for interstellar diplomacy, a meeting ground for species and civilizations to resolve conflicts without resorting to war. The planet's diversity, once a source of division, was now its greatest strength, offering myriad perspectives for galactic discourse. Humanity's culture experienced a renaissance inspired by the influx of alien philosophies, art, and science. Universities and research institutions flourished, becoming centers of learning not just for humans but for beings from across the galaxy, eager to understand this species that had defied the odds. Memorials were erected in every major city, not just to honor the fallen, but to celebrate the unity and determination that had saved Earth. These monuments stood as reminders of the cost of freedom and the value of peace, drawing visitors from distant worlds, curious about the planet that had fought so valiantly against annihilation. The anniversary of the war's end became a global day of remembrance and celebration, known as Unity Day. On this day every year, the skies of Earth were lit with a spectacular display of lights, a message of peace to the universe, and a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Humanity's journey through the war had been a crucible, out of which emerged a united species ready to take its place in the cosmic community. Earth, once an isolated and divided world, now stood as a beacon for collaboration, a symbol of what could be achieved when disparate beings worked together towards a common goal. As Earth looked to the stars, it did so not in fear, but with hope and determination. The planet and its people were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, fortified by the knowledge that they were no longer alone. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Earth stood united, a member of the galactic family, ready to face the unknown together.